People always ask how I balance my family life with 400 shows a year. I'm just doing what I love with the people I love. It's my magic life.
I like Wes Iseli. I like everything about him.
All right, on today's episode, we have a return guest. Everybody, it's legendary magician Craig Diamond, straight off his cruise ship gigs. What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm great. How are you two doing? It's so nice to see both of you.
We're doing good, man. We've been trying to get this. The first interview we did with you, you were shot out of a cannon, man. Just it was so fast. It's so fun. I just re-listened to it today while I was hiking my trails and stuff, and I'm like, that interview flew by, man. I've been trying to get you back on, but now that COVID's over, you're on the cruise ships. I see you post. You're at home with your wife. Hey, can we do a podcast? No, I'm on the ship tomorrow. You're just in and out so fast, man.
and I leave this Saturday too, so I'm a couple days away. You got me in between, so it was good. I took a little break. I had a heck of a schedule this past winter, so I was ready for a break. So yeah. So this worked out perfect. So great.
We're glad we got you back, man. So how's it been getting back on the ships and getting back into things?
I'll tell you what, since that whole code, whoever saw that coming, we had discussions about that. We talked a couple times. We were back and forth. I was giving Zoom magic lessons during the COVID thing. So, we were back and forth together with that, with a student that I was working with, but bizarre. And I tried the Zoom thing for a little bit during the COVID thing. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a tech guy. And the technique, now I'm kind of used to it now with the setup and everything, with the microphone and the camera and all that. But I found the tech aspect of it very stressful for me. And without having I'm spoiled, Wes. I always have a stage manager and a crew. You know what I mean? So without having a tech team support, and it was all me. It just I found that a little rough. So tried to get my way through the epidemic during that with doing that, as I think all of us were doing, experimenting with that. And then finally, once things started to open up, and of course I'm a career cruise guy, so then once that opened up, and that still took time. I mean, there were a couple companies that were slowly rolling out and different ones that were going on for long contracts and this, but it took a while. I was off 20 months. It was 20 months from walking off walking off one gangway to walking back on another, and then a little slow rollout. All of us that were back into it were experiencing that. We're on ships. It was great at first because you got ships that are the first ship I went out on. I do a lot with Oceania. And they had that particular ship was a 1,200 passenger capacity. I think there were 350 people on board, for the cruise. That same company, for their world cruise, they didn't have any more than 350 people on any segment of their world cruise. So people had a chance to take a world cruise like they'd never have again and be on a ship that was 3/4 empty. It's like having your own yacht, pretty much. But and then I picked up an account. I don't do the big ships. I've stayed away from these massive 4,000, 5,000 passenger ships. I do high end, what we call the boutique market is my market. But my agent called me and had an offer to go to one of the companies that are making big headway into the U.S. market. And I thought, okay, I'll give it a shot. Didn't think I'd like it, but I loved it. I really liked it. But when I first went out, now you're in a ship with 4,000 passenger capacity, and again, 500 people on board.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, 500 people. So it was great. They're not going to let us stay in business if this continues. As far as that goes. But oh my gosh, to walk it was fabulous. You had to wait. Now I'll tell you where it wasn't great. It was great for everything until you went to do your show.
That's what I was going to ask.
Right. What you're really there for. It was great for going to eat in the buffet line, and there was never this and never wait for that and whatever. But so then you go do your show. Now they did have it cut down. Instead of like 2 sittings, they only had one scheduled sitting. So they would try to get the 500 people or whatever into that one sitting. But you're in these showrooms that seat 3,000 people.
It looks
And
empty.
now you have 500 people scattered across these massive theater showrooms. So that's not fun. Laughter creates laughter, applause creates applause, and when it's back and forth. And they booked me to be a stand-up comedian many times. When my agent calls, she specifies, am I going out as stand-up comic or is I going out for magic? Magic, not a problem when you only have the 500 people scattered out there. But when you're just doing the stand-up comedy and they're scattered, it's like a trip to the dentist,
What's like you just going through the motions and just doing your lines.
You just got to go through. And the other thing for magic, when we came back out of the COVID, the first restrictions were I never had to wear a mask on stage. But other than that, for rehearsal, for backstage in the dressing room, for basically always having a mask on, but before you walked off on stage, mask could come off. All right. But at that point, you couldn't interact with people from the audience. You couldn't get people up out of the audience on stage. You couldn't do any of that. And initially, at that time, then your audience was still wearing masks. Initially, if you were cruising, they were still all wearing masks too. And I'll regress with this here, a little bit of a story. My first show post-pandemic, it was still during the pandemic, but it was as things were loosening up here in Florida. I had a country club show, and it was a comedy night. They wanted a comedy, and I had some magic to throw in. It was a 90-minute show, and I had a little bit of magic to do it. But it was, I want to say it was the following March. So it was about 1 year into the pandemic, about almost a year to the week of the pandemic hitting. And they were finally opening up a little bit down here in Florida. I had a show. The country club was still following COVID policies. So I started out with a mask, and I have a real, where are my masks? Of course, I have a diamond mask. I'm looking to see if it's handy. I don't have it. I was going to. Nope, it's not here. Okay.
Bedazzled.
Yeah, it matches my shoes. So anyways, I'm doing like 90 minutes, and I had the mask on, and my God, I was working my tail off. I mean, just punching, and it was like pulling teeth. A couple times people were hollering, take your mask off, and I did. And finally, about the last 20 minutes, I finally took the darn mask off, and it was like hitting a light switch. The audience just came alive, and fortunately, it wasn't that far of a drive from home. I only had about a 15-minute drive home. And as I'm driving home, I'm rationalizing in my head, what was that about? And I realized you put a mask on your face here, all right? You're losing everything from here down as far as animation. And as you well know, I'm rather animated on stage and very, whatever. So all you're getting is just a little bit of the eye and the eyebrow thing. You're not getting any of the facial thing at all. So thankfully, getting back onto the ships, you didn't have to wear the mask on stage. So, and little by little, then of course, then you didn't have to wear it backstage. And then I was able to, there's still, most of the staff is still having to wear masks with most of the companies. There are a few companies that the staff is not wearing masks, but most of them. So if I'm in the sound booth doing a tech rehearsal and everything with tech guys, they're all masked up. So then I still have to be, masked up.
I think any day now that'll be over, though. Any day now.
A little bit. Well, some of the companies, there are a few companies that it's complete thing, and there's no longer a policy that you've got to have a test, negative test to get on a ship. You're not showing proof of vaccines anymore. That's all, we are now past that. So it is opening up. We're about as close to pre-COVID normal as what I think will be. I think the policies that are in place cruise wise now will stay in place. I think the way they have it set up as far as how they're handling the situation, because every trip someone gets it. There's always someone getting COVID on the ship, so they just put them in isolation. They put them in isolation. They treat them, and I got it in July on a ship. I got it on. I was doing stand-up comedy. And so I had a chance when I do the comedy every now and then I'm with another magic act, which is a joy, because I'm almost never with I never get to work with another magic act. And I was able to work with the Conjurers from England, from Manchester, or I'm not sure if I shouldn't say Manchester. I think London. I should say that. But from the UK, wonderful couple, Matthew Pomeray and Natasha. I don't know if you've seen them on Masters of Illusion or Penn and Teller. They've done those. Very, very, very nice couple. So I was able to hang and never got the chance of that. Turnaround day, we all went out together. I was starting to feel rough. I just had a negative COVID test, so I didn't think it was COVID. So went out, thought I was just getting a cold, because I hadn't had a cold for 2 years because we were all masked up and everything. And lo and behold, it nailed me. It ended up being COVID. I ended up doing a show with it, didn't know it because I had been tested negative. So got off the ship the following day, came home. On my way home, I drove by where I always get the test and got the positive test. So came home and let my wife said, I'm headed to a hotel.
Wow.
I didn't give it to her. I didn't want to give it to her. So yeah, so it's on the ships. It is what it is. It's a new thing in life. We're past all that. Thank God we can move on. Our audiences are no longer masked. We don't have to be masked, and life has, I think about as normal as we're going to get now for a while. Thank heavens. Well, how about you? You feel the same way?
We are 100% back to normal.
Yeah.
We are back. Yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
I teach magic lessons on Monday for a homeschool group, Monday afternoons. And there were some kids masked up, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, I'm wondering what it is. And one little girl told me she's got really bad allergies. So that's it wasn't COVID. It wasn't COVID or anything. It was allergies. Yeah. So I mean, every time we see a mask. Yeah.
You're still seeing a few guests, passengers will wear them on the ships, and basically, I'm assuming they have, they probably have issues as far as they're susceptible to, infections or situations, and they have to be extra careful, or they're just being extra careful. I'll be honest with you, I get in an elevator, and the elevator fills up, and someone starts hacking and coughing in the back.
Yeah.
But I tell you, I hated those masks. I hated everything about them. You couldn't. You go to a grocery store. You can't smile to the teller.
No.
You can't. There's nothing. And Natalie has breathing issues, so her doctor's like, she was pregnant with twins during COVID, and they were like, and during the summer, and they're like, you don't have to wear it. Here's a pass. But you guys are entertainers. People know you. If you don't wear a mask, people are going to call you jerks. So wear it as much as you can.
Yeah.
Me trying to perform with it and having a monologue piece in my show and taking that inhale of hot air before you go to do a monologue piece. You just running out of air. It sucked. We had a resort that made us wear masks when we performed, but that didn't last very long. We worked that resort the entire pandemic, but
yeah.
We only had to wear masks like 2 performances out of 24 during those times. Yeah.
Right.
For me, it was the show setup. I had to have it backstage. So on that first ship I was talking about, my suite is 1 floor above the theater, and there's a private stairway to go down to come in the back of through the theater. It's real nice. But because it's in that private area, crew area, staircase that goes down, if you're in that area, you've got to be masked. And if I'm using that elevator, I've got to have a mask on. And backstage at that time in the beginning, I thought the same thing. I'm going up and down the steps, and I'm running back and forth to the room and go back forth backstage. I spend all day backstage going back and forth. I like to move. I move in about 11 o'clock in the morning to the dressing room, and I adopt it for the day. You don't have to do that, but I just do. I'm comfy doing that. I like doing that. But I'm running back and forth, and same thing, with that thing, and then killed my ears, for God's sake. So, geez. All right. Enough of that stuff. Let's get off the mask and the COVID crap.
Enough
All
COVID.
We're
Well,
done.
during COVID, you set up this great display that you have back here for your Zoom shows.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
you taught magic lessons. I love it that you kept your Zoom stage up. It looks great. It looks great. I'll put a picture on the Facebook group for the listeners. But how's your student? You keep in touch with her?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I promised her. I messaged before I was taking this break. I said, "Hey, are you ready for lessons?" And she said, "Oh, yes." And this month has been crazy. So before I head out Saturday, I think Erin is due for a lesson before. She's been doing great because she's been going back and forth to the castle and she did win the I think she won the ugly Christmas sweater castle award.
Yeah.
That's your student. That's your student, right? That's your student. That makes sense. So, for the listeners that don't know, I got to help her. She was going to do the castle interview, and she had to perform. And you had me and Hal and was Mark D'Souza and yourself all like critique her. And I'm like, I was just happy to be in the room with this girl and with all these other legends in magic. And I'm like, whoa, this is awesome. And that was fun to be part of. Thank you for having me that.
Thank you for participating. I thought, all right, who do I call and get in this? I wanted a well-rounded panel, from different. And I thought, all right, there's Wes would be perfect for that. Perfect for that. All right, so now that we're brothers under the pelt.
How much time do we have? All right, so
Isn't that great for stage though? You don't worry about it. I mean, there's no issue. Oh, are you trying to do this? Are you going to do this?
Should he get a goatee just like you two?
Well, it's the look. It's the look, and then we can be a before and after.
Ah, there you go.
So the long and short of it is, I was fighting a bald spot for years. When I got married to Natalie in 2008, I was fighting a bald spot.
Yeah.
And it was just bugging me. And I needed a haircut bad. I needed my hair dyed. Natalie's been dyeing my hair since 2008. Yeah. And so what hair I had left was turning gray. And she was in the hospital for 33 days, and I almost lost her 3 times. I had to do shows without her. And I'm coming home, and I'm trying to get the fibers out of my hair where I'm trying to fill in the bald spot and all the. And I was like, this is stupid. I'm just going to shave my head. Here's what I have. I have resorts coming up. I sell my hats in the back of the room sales. So it's merchandise. I'll put merch on. I'll wear a hat during my shows. It's no problem. I still wear a hat during my stage shows, but during close-up, I take it off. It might change over a while. My head was so pale when I first shaved it. I had to have something.
That's the weird thing.
But
I wore makeup. I wore makeup on my head for my initially, because it was so damn. I'd be able to get. Well, what it was, I was able to get a little color here, but once you shaved all the hair, well, see, I wore hair. See, here's the difference. I wore hair pieces for a while, really good hair pieces. You didn't know I was wearing hair. So when I went like this, everybody thought I was sick. First of all, oh, mom, there's nothing wrong with that. I decided to, so I, being in Florida, I could go out without the top on or whatever and get a little color here. All right. But your natural hair here kept the tint. So when I finally shaved that off, this was whiter, this was darker. So I had to, and I think I shaved it, and the next day I was headed out on a ship. Wow.
But I came home at 2 a.m. and I was like, being vain, it just feels weird. I mean, I was shopping for toupees, not heavily, but I was looking. I was getting the ads on Facebook, I guess, because we were talking about listening to me. And I'm like, I really don't want to do that. I really don't want to do it. And I shaved my head, and I'm like, why be vain? My wife is dying. I don't care. And then I'm like, hey, my head's not misshaped. It's not a weird looking melon
No,
head
it's a good
shape.
check.
All
No,
right.
no.
So
Good.
I kept with it.
Hey, it was good for Hans Moretti, buddy. All right, if it's good for Hans
Hey.
Moretti, all right, come on,
And
and
you know what? I'm talking my other friends into doing it that's suffering from the same thing we were suffering from. Dude, I don't have to worry about anything anymore. I don't have to. So here's the weird thing, and she laughed at me, but I put a hood on my head, like a sweatshirt with a hood. I never did that before because I didn't want to mess up the fibers. I didn't want to mess up my hair. I had it hairsprayed and fixed. I said, these hoods really work. I mean, they keep your head warm. She said, yeah, that's why they put them on there, honey. I never used it. I didn't want to mess anything up.
You will find out this is quite the thermostat. All right, that's what that's what I. Well, so for years we were wearing the hairpieces. You know, you're in the Caribbean, you get off a ship. You don't have jet ports in the Caribbean. When I say jet ports, you mean when the airplane, you don't get off the plane and go right into the terminal, or you don't have that the jet port that hooks up to the plane. You know, you're going down the steps, you're walking across the tarmac and into the terminal. That's the way 95% of all the Caribbean airports are. They don't have jet ports. So I can't tell you how many times I'm walking across the tarmac, you know, and it's 35-mile-an-hour winds or something blowing. My clothes are blowing like this, you know, and I'm just waiting for this. You know, I'm waiting to sing the song. It was a windy day. I had a wonderful toupee that blew by you. You know? So and then another time, remember, we were in Alaska. We were on a Holland America ship, and it was a cold day, and I took it off and had a cap on instead. You know, we were going into town. I think we were in Skagway or whatever. And I go across the gangway, and a gust of wind comes off, and the hat goes, and their eye goes.
Oh,
It's awful. It's awful.
No, and I think for Magic, it's a great look.
Once you're done, you're done. Once
You
you're
do
done,
it's a great look. I'll never go back. Yeah, I'll never go back. So yeah, and with the hair pieces too. I remember I was on a ship, and Marvin Roy was on as a guest with a group from Palm Springs. Marvin and Carol participated in a show called Palm Spring Follies. You know, they lived there. And the Palm Spring Follies is a show that's produced by a big promoter producer, and it's all the retired showbiz people that live in Palm Springs. You know, and names, big names. And this show has been running for 25, 30 years. And they get all the old stars for that are living in that area. And so at any rate, now this was probably about maybe 95. I want to say. So we're on a ship performing, and the Palm Spring Follies are on with about 200 people have taken. So it's not a charter cruise, but they have a group on. So by doing that, they had 2 afternoons in the theater. They got the theater for 2 afternoons for their private group, for their 200 people that were cruising for a Palm Spring Follies show. And Marvin was part of that. But part of the deal was for that 200 people, he would do close up at night in the dining room for the 200 people. So we were hanging the whole cruise. He hardly ever ate. He was only eating tuna sandwiches, and we'd eat late at night together. And so anyways, it's my show night. And we always closed with the sub trunk for all the years my wife was in the show. The sub trunk was always the closer. And I did a bit with the keys with the trunk where I would give the keys to the person that comes up and examines the show, following the switch, get the keys back from the guy, and it was all queued up to get the crowd all, you know, on a dither and everything. The only problem is every now and then you get the idiot that wouldn't give you the keys.
Mm.
So very rarely would that happen, but it would happen every now and then. So Marvin comes up to me in between the shows. He says, "You just worked your ass off out there for a show." He said, "I have two suggestions for you." He said, "Forget that key thing with that guy in the audience." He says, "You're putting the end of the show into the hands of somebody in the audience." He says, "You've got more balls than me." That's exactly what he said. He said, "I would never do that." He said, "Hasn't that bit you?" And I said, "Oh, a couple times." He says, "Instead," he said, "I know this makes no sense, he said, now I would have them examine the trunk and pound the hell out of it. All right. But I never would turn the trunk over and bang the bottom of the trunk. That didn't make sense to me. What they think I'm going out the bottom of the trunk, you know, it doesn't make.
Right.
And Marvin says, turn the trunk over and beat the living heck out of the bottom of the trunk, showing the trunk. He says, I know. He says, you and I both know it makes no sense. But he says to the audience, he says, good. 100% right. He was 100%. Now, I've been with Marvin a few years before on a run, and he gave advice to me that was 100% wrong.
Uh-oh.
to the point we were around a couple other guys. Carol Fox was involved in it, and I forget, there were a couple other guys, and they all told Marvin, shut up, you're wrong, Marvin. Right. So, but he was 100% right on this one. And so for the second show, I changed it. While he's telling me this wonderful advice, after I finished the 8 o'clock show, I would come, in those days, I came out of the trunk smoking a cigarette. Of course, that changed eventually. Back then, so when they'd untie the sack, a big puff of smoke would come out, and I'd come out with the handcuffs. This is a hairpiece story. That's where this all comes back to. Okay. So
Oh, no.
all right.
No.
Oh.
All right. Probably know where this is headed. Okay. So I'm in the sack. You know, it's dark. It's pitch black. You know, I'm in the sack. So I got the cuffs on. Okay. I'm in the sack. All right. The cigarette is in my sock. All right. The cigarette and lighter are in my sock. So now I reach down, cigarettes in the thing. Now I'm handcuffed and in the sack while I'm doing this. So now the cigarette's going in the mouth, and I light the cigarette while I'm in the sack, you know, and everything. And I do it. That's how I've always done it. What I didn't know is at this particular time, as I'm lighting this, I set my damn hair on fire in the sack and didn't know it. Okay. And it was a real hair and synthetic mix hairpiece. Okay.
Oh, God.
So real hair will burn. The synthetic just kind of melt. So now I don't know if this has happened. So there's Marvin waiting for me in the wing as I come off. All right. And he gives me this wonderful sage advice. All right. Thank you, Marvin. Thank you. Love you. Hug, 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 hug. I go in the dressing room. I walk up to the mirror. Right? And I go, yeah. Okay. First of all, how Marvin could look at me. I don't know how the hell he could even look at me and get through without, you know, you've done, you know, and oh my God, it was terrible. It was really terrible.
Smell bad? Burnt hair smells.
No. See, if it was real hair, it would smell, but the synthetic, you don't really get it. You know, and you know, while you're involved in the show, the adrenaline's gone, you're coming out, you're doing the whole thing and whatever. I'm not thinking, I'm not looking. It wasn't until I went and I saw the mirror and I did, oh my God. What made me change, we were on a ship and we had an excursion in the canal zones, where you were on an aerial tram above the jungle canopy, way up above in the trees, in the Panama jungle. And I'm wearing the hair. I got the hairpiece on, and at that time I'm wearing hairpieces that glue on. Okay, so they were great. You could not tell. They were wonderful. The tram breaks down. So we have to sit up there. So now we're in the jungle heat for 90 minutes above the jungle canopy. Okay. My wife and I are in this thing, and I start going, I think there's a dead monkey under us in the trees. I can't use, can you smell that? And she's going, no, I don't smell a thing. I said, I'm telling you, there's a dead monkey down there. It was the damn glue. It was my glue. My hairpiece that I was smelling. All right.
Oh,
so
gosh.
It was the heat. The heat was smelling. All right. So I get back to the ship with that thing, and then I think it was like 2 weeks later we were on the QE2, on a World Cruise segment. It was my show night, and I'm all set up, and I'm getting ready for the show. I'm coming out of the show. I'm running about 15 minutes late. I look in the mirror, and the front of it's like sticking up a little bit. Now there's prep to do to fix it and everything, but I'm rushing. So you know what it's like. I don't get nervous for shows. I don't know how you are with it, but I don't get nervous for shows. But if I'm rushed, I don't like to be rushed. You know, you get that little, you're rushing. So I'm backstage, and I was a little bit more rushed, and I'm thinking I'm all rushed because of this damn there. And at end of that week, I came home. I had a corporate date in Pennsylvania that I had to do. I almost shaved it for going up for that, but I thought, no, it was for doctors and everything too. And, you know, they had an 8x10 of what I looked like before. So I didn't want to show up. And but then I shaved it off, and I'll tell you what, and look wise, now I've done this for 10 years. As long as I hate to break the illusion, but this is not my natural color. But as long as you go with that, I'm hoping I can keep this look for a long time, and it fits. But yeah, so I was happy when I saw you go with it. That was, you'll never go back.
I think it's been really freeing for him too.
Oh, it does. It does. It does. So for all you magicians out there that are Friday, now you said about the fabric. This is a funny story, and then we'll get off the hair thing too. Because this is years ago. They had that spray shit. They had that spray stuff that you could, fill in. So now my wife's from England, and she had her sister and brother-in-law visiting with us, and we were out at a mall one day, and some of this stuff must have fallen off the back end of a truck because they had boxes of it out that they were selling it for next to nothing. You know, the same thing they advertise on TV. So I bought a can, and we come home, and we're going to go out for a Chinese meal, Chinese restaurant. I go back to our master bathroom, and I'm shaking the can. I'm getting this baby up. You know, I'm going to try this. And my wife comes in. She says, "You're trying that now?" I said, "Oh yeah, I'm going." She says, "We're leaving in 10 minutes for the Chinese restaurant." She said, "So whatever happens with this, we're leaving in 10 minutes." Okay. So I start spraying. This stuff's flying all over. My toilet tank was growing hair. Okay. This stuff it's particle. It's like flecky hairspray or something. You know. So anyways, it's not good when you part your hair with a washcloth. Munster, I swear to God, I had it started to do this and this, whatever. It was awful. All right, but I promised my wife we're going in 10 minutes. So she made me go to the Chinese restaurant with this damn thing, looking like it, and it was a regular place that we go to. And I know the guy is taking my order, standing behind me, looking down, I go, "Oh, Mr. King." I know I went back into the kitchen, and like, you can hear him laughing, I'm thinking, oh my God, then it would sweat. You'd sweat it all, and it's like bad mascara. It was, the only thing that saved me was, if I hadn't done that, chances are I'd have sprayed it on before a show, and I'd have been
melting mess from being.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. What we go through for stage, huh? Is that fun?
You're trying to look good. You're trying to, that's your moneymaker. You want to make it look good. That's all you got.
Yeah. It's image. It's image. Well, hey, how long has the bald, pointy goatee thing been, a magic thing? Look at all the old magic posters of that. So we're just a new modern day version of that, Wes. So
that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I really went hard with looks, and I was really critical. And when I was 18, like, I wore a full tuxedo, and I wore contacts instead of glasses. I wore glasses every day, but I wore contacts for shows because magicians don't wear glasses. And then I almost died during a heat wave, 4th of July weekend, performing next to a pool. I passed out in the car. I passed out. I turned on the air conditioner for the animals, and I woke up and the parking lot was empty. I got rid of the tux that day. You can't, I got to have an outfit that I can perform everywhere. And then you're looking around, and when I take my
Blinders off.
blinders off, I
Yeah.
see that Penn wears glasses.
Mhm.
Harry Blackstone Jr. wears glasses.
Yep.
Doug Henry wore bell bottoms and tie. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's about your personality on stage,
Right.
and what you're selling. So yeah. Now, does image and look matter? Yes, it does, but not when it comes down to just a pair of glasses on.
Right.
And if you're a character, and if you're in particular, if you're a character act or comedic or whatever, then the glasses, you can make you can make it work all the way around, for you. So
now the only time I feel bad for people is if they're becoming overweight and their buttons are pulling at their clothing. They need a new outfit or they need to go on a diet. That hurts me because I've been there. So I feel that. And also, when I see somebody balding and trying to cover it awfully, it's not fooling anybody. I feel bad for them. And it takes me out of the show. It takes me out of the show because I start to reminisce and feel bad.
No, it does. The bad comb over and it's hard to tell people, people are sensitive about their appearance. So they obviously think this looks great. Yeah.
Right.
Years ago, on a ship, I was performing with a concert pianist, a fellow headliner. And so many times for concert pianists in concert, they'll use the camera in the room to zoom in on the keyboard of the piano, and they'll project that on the side screen. So you're watching your performer on stage, but you can also, it's got the keyboard going. So you see all with the hands up and down and everything visually. And this guy had worked for you, and he was a friend. He had the hairiest hands. I mean, he was like a freaking grizzly bear on the back of his hands. Okay. It was ethnic. It was his ethnic background was provided this hair issue, sadly. So as the camera is going like this, I mean, it was like watching a gorilla play the piano.
Wow.
It really took away from.
Yeah.
It took away from for anything. So I was on an extended run with him, and the cruise director and a couple of them was saying, "How do we approach this? What do we how?" And basically, it was just that, hey, what would look a lot better is if you shaved your hands. I mean, that sounds funny, but
that sounds funny. Well, because a lot of people struggle with excessive hand hair, so you don't hear about that.
Yeah.
No,
well, but he did just that, and then and to this day, his hands are cleanly shaved.
Does it look like he has a shirt on, like a long sleeve shirt?
Yeah, a long sleeve. So you don't see the arms. He just keeps the top of them because the camera comes in. So in situations like that, your image does it does matter. Now that's not a magic thing, but as far as a visual consistency, and you don't want to turn your audience off either by whatever, unless that's your intention. And that was not.
I think of Robin Williams. Robin Williams had really hairy arms and hairy hands.
Yeah. It was just this guy was of Greek heritage, Mediterranean heritage, and he just happened to have, that. And but when you be backstage and they come in on the TV monitor, all you're seeing
fur flying. You just see fur flying.
Aww.
Yeah.
So, and that is somebody is sensitive about. So say you're a magician and you're balding and someone says, and you're doing that bad comb over and it ages you. Who talks to you? Who is it that talks you out of that? Who's the one? Is it the wife? Is it the friends? Or do you just not say anything and just let it go? We've all seen it.
I think you have to know the person a little bit. Otherwise, I mean, if it comes from a stranger, you can kind of take it bad, they could that person they don't know what they're talking about because you don't know them. When it comes from somebody that cares about you, it makes it
you're combing it over. It shouldn't come as a surprise. You know you're combing it over.
But you rationalize when it's yourself. You rationalize, right?
Yeah.
I fibered every day.
Right,
Every day I'm
yeah.
gardening here.
So you're
Yeah.
it's a comb over, but you know what? I think it's better than most comb overs. I think it looks better than the other guys I see with comb overs. You start rationalizing.
All right, so look,
Yeah.
great. I shave my head and I shave my face. I put the lotion. I put the shaving cream like this everywhere, right? I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't have Rogaine anymore. I don't have hairspray anymore. No more
No.
hair dye. No more no more fibers. I'm done. I'm clean.
No.
I'm done.
No,
and I put my hood and my sweatshirt.
Yeah.
We got money in our pockets now.
So when you think, well, that was the thing with hair pieces, good hair pieces. I was spending about $6,000 a year on my hair pieces. That's a lot of money.
Woo.
So, to have them where they look that no one knows, whatever. I mean, it's expensive. So I just finally said, you know what? And I had to carry them with me extra, So anyways, yes, very freeing, very whatever. And I get jokes on stage in my opening hello to the audience. I say, there will be no dancers dancing around and getting equipment. There are no fans backstage blowing my hair,
Right.
Icebreaker. Right off the bat, they laugh at my own expense. And that's right in the first hello to the show. I bring it back to me. We get a laugh, and I will also many times throughout the show mention of saying I hope I'm not blinding you with too much glare. I'll do a little thing like that, and so silly little nuance. If something's not quite there and you got to kill 20 seconds. Hey folks, I hope I'm not blinding.
There you go.
It's there for you.
No, I know it does glare. It does glare on stage. Yeah.
It does. But yeah, it's very freeing, and I've enjoyed the change for. I've done it now for. I did this in 2001 is when I finally went with this. So. Wow. It took me a little while, but never look back. So you guys out there, so you magician guys, so if you're thinking about this, you got two of us right here. We're telling you, how much time have we spent on the hair already? For God's sake! All right, so
over 15 minutes.
This has been a hair show. This has been just for West hair show.
Hey, but they've been some good stories though. We're pretty funny. I liked it.
Yeah, lighting your own hair on fire in the box, that's pretty awesome. You talk about stories with your wife and stuff that happened with your wife, and you said, "Oh, that could be a whole podcast." Anything in mind, real quick?
Well, so here we're on the Cunard Canis years and years ago. We're doing the Bird Act, all right, and razor blades. This is we were in a Roaring 20 show. She's in a white flapper dress, with the white strings and everything, and I'm in the white tails and had the hair then. This hair is slicked back. And I would set the razor blades up as Houdini did it with needles. We're going to make it even more dangerous, razor blades. So that was the setup, but it was done very flapperish and roaring. We had dancers behind us in flapper outfits, and I have an old Abbott's razor blade stand. No, it's not here. It's packed, and it has an arc. The stand is arc, so the blades are arced on a display across the top.
Is it blue and black?
What's that?
Is it blue and black?
Yeah.
I remember. I think I have one.
Yeah. I love them. Were great, simple, nothing to them. But anyhow, she's holding the blade stand, like this, and her spaghetti strap on her dress came off her shoulder. She's holding this. She reaches across to pull the strap up. When she reached across to pull the strap up, she caught the top of two blades. When you cut yourself with a razor blade, you don't feel it. So she didn't feel it. So she cut herself like right here. Now she's holding this thing, and she has her elbows, tucked in to the dress. So I'm taking the blades off, and I'm slicing the cards, and I look over, and you could just see this band of red coming down the fringe, and a drip off of the one fridge, and the blood was going down under the fridge and fringe and dripping down. Now she wasn't bleeding out or anything. Okay, it wasn't like that, that type of thing. And she was totally unaware of it. It was a one only spot. We were working in one with that. So once we were done, off, and I came back right away and I said, honey, you're bleeding. And she looked down, and so that was one. Same cruise, different week. We're doing the bird act. I had a flash paper carnation on my jacket right here, that towards the end of the act I would take off, place on a reworked dove and balloon tray without the balloon, light the carnation, flash, dove.
Oh, nice.
Early, it was, I don't think anyone else was doing it but me. It looked great, did it for years. Early in the show, would do the thing of the pull out the string off of the white vest, light it, flash string, and silk first bird. This is early in the show. And live band playing my music behind me, by the way, okay? So I pull out the string, match, light, silk. Now I'm looking right here. This carnation is right here. And a spark flew from the string. Just a spark flew and hit the carnation. Now I didn't have the beard then, but I had the mustache, okay?
Oh,
So
dear.
I'm like this, and this thing goes
Right on your face.
It took my eyebrows, my eyelashes, this side of my mustache off. Just it all.
Oh.
And you talk about the smell of burnt hair. Okay. I mean, it was awful. But the band couldn't play. The band was at this point, the band's laughing so hard. Okay. I remember the trumpet go, so they're missing their notes and trying to get back on the thing. And now I'm lucky I didn't blind my eye. All right. I guess when it happened, I must have closed my eye. But that took like a week or more till I was penciling in, my eyebrow and then and the half of the thing. Another time, Dolores, talk about the trunk, what was at the trunk. And I had a couple pair of handcuffs in the case, and this is 30 years ago, and it's just before the show, and I look back and Dolores is messing around with these cuffs. She pulls one pair of cuffs out, and she's laughing on her wrist, and these aren't the regular cuffs. He said, no, honey, they're not the regular cuffs. And I didn't have a key for the damn things.
Oh no.
So there she is with a handcuff on the other, the other one's dangling, and we start the show. So I said, honey, you're just going to have to come out and and back then we were still doing a manipulation opening, but way back then, and so I could see her coming on holding the top hat with with the manacles dangling. And she comes out and the handcuffs are gone. And I came in after the show and I said, what did she say? I got them all. No idea. I have no idea what she did, how she did it. I have no idea. I don't know whether she was back there or whatever, but she got them all.
Wow.
Yeah, another one, a bad one. We were doing this is on a ship. I had an Owens mic suspension, beautiful prop. Rolls Royce of suspensions. Same thing, live orchestra right behind us playing. I take her to the top position, release her, come around behind, come underneath of her, come forward to take the bow. I then turn to go like that for another applause cue. And as I turn like that, there's a crack sound and she comes down. Now, it happened just as I was turning to do this. So as the crack, and she came down, I came forward and she literally came right into my arms.
Oh, that worked out.
Well, it looked great. other than the loud cracking sound. All right, it looked like it was it just by chance. It looked like it was meant to be, but after the show, you don't want to hear the language in the dressing room, because I walk into the dressing room after the show, and Dolores is,
Oh, geez.
So well, it landed straight on her back. That's the broom suspension.
Oh, it could have really. So I had to, of course, I had to take it out of the show and figure out what was wrong with it. Well, it came down to a tiny little spring, no bigger than that, had worn out, had lost its thing. So now we're in Alaska at this point. And there used to be, it's still there, but it's a whole different type of shop now. But the hardware store in Ketchikan, Alaska used to be a real hardware store. Now it's just a typical souvenir shop. But back in the 80s and the early 90s, it was a real hardware shop. And about every other week, I was sitting in one of the aisles in the hardware shop looking for things. I mean, I was living in the you know what it's like. We're always fixing and trying to find whatever. And so they knew me. And so I was literally sitting cross-legged on the floor, looking through little drawers, trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And one of the guys came over and he says, "Let me see that." And he's looking at it. He says, "I know what that is." And he replaced it with a spring from a lawnmower, equipment from a little spring that would be used in a lawnmower, and that was the replacement spring. So hook it back up, get it back. Now several weeks had gone by that this had to be taken out of the show. So I let Dolores know it's all fixed, and so we have a private rehearsal, and she's in the thing and she's up on it, and she opens her eyes and looks at me. And I guess I was rather nervous about what could happen, or worrying about whether it was really fixed or not, even though I assured her not a problem. Because she opens her eyes up and she looks at me and she says, "It looked like someone threw a bucket of water in my face." He's all right. She said, "Do you see yourself?" I says, "No." She says, "Get me down now." So brought her down. Now, we never had any issues about it. And then the guys at Collector's Workshop, Nick Ruggiero, he was one of the original guys at Owens Metalworkers back in the day. So he was one of the ones that was actually designing and building them back then. So he ended up doing something to that then, along with that spring, so that would never, ever, ever, ever happen again. But
wow.
Yeah. Natalie, you've got to have some.
What?
No, I
like
Are you lucked out? Oh, all right. It's coming. Sooner or later.
I've gotten hit with a couple swords and gotten that going on, a couple scrapes and bruises, but
stepped on a sword basket.
Yeah.
She wasn't in the right position.
Oh, Dolores, used to hate the sword basket. Oh, Dolores, I remember one time I bought a new pair of Florsheim shoes, patent leather shoes for stage, and they're really heavy shoes. They're a really freaking heavy shoe. And I remember the first time we did the sword basket, it was the only time I wore those shoes for the show, because I got into sword. I don't know. Step on the sword basket. Nobody, you know what's so funny, Natalie?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the magician takes the bow. Oh, isn't he wonderful? You know, and it's the assistant doing this,
right.
The
assistant doing the work and getting in the uncomfortable spots. I mean, now when I get
this
the
is
sword
public,
basket,
people.
when I get the sword basket, climbs in, I put my hand in front of my face, like a couple inches away from my nose, because I've gotten smacked in the nose when he gets out. So the foot will come up and smack me in the nose, and I'm getting out of the sword basket, my eyes are watering. Like, so I put my hand now. I've learned little tricks to try and not get hurt. But
I had an interview earlier, and they asked me for like big mistakes that we've had in our shows. Yeah. And it's little things like changing your shoes. People don't think about it, and we're performers full time. We don't think about it. She gets a new shirt. Like, honey, how do you like this? It's sparkly. It's pretty. It's great, honey. Whatever makes you happy. I love it. Yeah. And then she gets in the sword basket, and the swords don't get through because it's a bulk of fabric. You don't
Yep.
think about it though.
No. And little things that you don't think about, that you don't think you have to rehearse or deal with, you just don't think about it. You don't, we all go through that. We've all done that, and then you get in the real situation, the life situation, you go, holy, okay, well, all right, this isn't working the way I thought it was going to work, or create the problem of whatever. It might be a change of costuming. Like you say, you have something new and the fabric doesn't catch right, or doesn't, or catches and pulls, or whatever. Trial and error. We all go through that. That's that never changes. So, now, Dolores has been, I'll tell you what I miss since Dolores has retired from the show. She would always pick up on ad lib things. Like if I would miss a line, she often might think of a follow-up or whatever. So every time I would come off stage, we always have it at either file cards or notepads or whatever. And inevitably, there was always a line or two. And some were great, some were not. But half of the asides that I use in the show that appear to be an impromptu aside came from her. She came from her writing down a little something. Oh, here, this is good. I can't believe you didn't think of this, or you didn't say that, or whatever. So, yeah. When she retired from the show, it was a big change. We traveled with anywhere from 19 to 27 cases of freight all over the world. And when she retired from the show and I became what's called the fly-in act. Now, fly-in act for the cruise industry is basically the phone rings and you can just go. And you're going to get your gear on a plane. It's only going to be a couple suitcases, and they can fly you into Timbuktu if they have to, and you come and go. The perks are you work a lot, but you're also traveling a lot because you're in and out, You're not doing residencies or semi-residencies where you're staying for 12, 16, 20 weeks or whatever, which is what we used to do with the big show. So even though the big show was hard on a logistic sense, and the same thing, trying to ship 19 to 27 cases around the world in a timely manner post 9/11 just got crazy. It just got crazy. So the flying, it's more wear and tear. I always say it's not the years, it's the mileage.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I'd be so worried about all my equipment. We have the RV in the trailer, and we pull our stuff, and it's always with us. Our RV broke down, and we had to leave in West Virginia. Our old RV broke down, and we had to go to Ohio to perform. And my show was in West Virginia. And it was killing me that I was out of state from my stuff. So I can't imagine giving it to a cruise line and say, hey, go for it.
Just last month, I had to fly down to Argentina, to Ushuaia, which is the bottom of the world. Okay, Argentina is the southernmost city in the world. It's the gateway to Antarctica. And that's where I was joining the ship. 2 weeks later, I would be getting off in Uruguay. Flying from Uruguay to Buenos Aires, Argentina, changing planes, Buenos Aires, Argentina, Sao Paulo, Brazil, Sao Paulo, Brazil to Miami, and then changing planes, and then Miami to St. Lucia, and had to do all that in 24 hours. And crazy. And then the plane in Sao Paulo, I sat on the run. One of those deals, you got on the plane at 9:30 at night. They had technical issues, sat on the runway all night, got off the plane at 6:30 in the morning, never went anywhere. It was one of those deals. So then you miss your next thing. Now, I knew with all those connections coming up, and I had to be on the ship the next day, and I've got 4 cases flying with me. It worked out because of the screw up with the delayed flight and everything that I had to claim bags all along the way. So as much as a hassle as that was, at least I knew I had my bags. But I didn't know that was going to happen going into it. So for the first time in 40 years of cruising, I'm flying in my suit that I'm going to perform in. All right. I'm traveling in my performing suit, and I put all I could of an act. I've got the multiplying bottles and my whole close-up show and a few other things in my carry-on, so that if they lose everything else, I still have, but I never have traveled in my performing suit before. But
wow.
I just was going to be prepared, and I thought, ended up I didn't have to do it. Everything worked out all right, but
Well, we're already at an hour, man. This is it. We're gonna run out. It's gonna turn us off in 27 seconds. Dude,
this is
I love you.
crazy.
I turn you on and let you go, and we
This
talk
is crazy.
We talk COVID, we talk craziness. It was awesome.
It was a lot of fun.
You are the best. Is it CraigDiamond.com?
It's CraigDiamondMagic.com, and the site's down for a few days. I'm in the middle of redoing some things, but it's CraigDiamondMagic.com. Yeah.
You're awesome. Thank you so much for everything, man. You are the best. And we'll get you back next year in between something, because I know you got a million stories.
Audience, come take a cruise with me. All right. Come follow me on Facebook and come take a cruise with me. All right.
Awesome.
All right.
One last thing to say, Natalie.
Oh,
See you next week.
Hey, see you next week, guys.
Check us out online at wesisley.com and patreon.com/Wes_Isley for behind-the-scenes videos, blooper videos, never-before-seen footage, discounts on merchandise, magic trick tutorials, and more. That's Wes Iseli, spelled WESISELI.